I find it odd that the ones who talk about going to church, who say go to church, or talking about having values, it's interesting because a lot of times those people treat people absolutely horribly. Now, I'm not saying that's always the case. There's many that will talk about both those things, and they are very loving, very kind people. But I'm just saying there is a lot of hypocrisy also. These churches are full of hypocrisy. I'll tell you one thing. You go into a lot of churches, there's so much wrong with the modern day church. I can just go on and on and on. But the hypocrisy, and I'll tell you something now, you go into some of these churches, these people sitting in the pews, they have a spirit of religion. They're hypocritical. Some of these pastors have that too. They'll talk about, oh, don't do this, don't do that. But what do they do when they get home? They do it. Same with a lot of the people in congregation. And listen, they're not all like that. And I'm not saying don't go to church. Don't get me twisted. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is make sure you're not sitting with a bunch of hypocrites. Please do yourself a favor. Make sure you're not. That's not going to get you anywhere. That's going to make you turn from ever wanting to go to church. It's no wonder. And I know a lot of people that are church hurt, because they've had bad experiences with the leadership or people in the pews. I know some people, they live in areas where just so many of the churches are corrupt. That is why I watch online church on Sunday mornings. Greg Walk, whatever. You can have your own opinions about him. He can be abrasive at times. I love him, though. He speaks truth. And let me tell you something. The amount of people I see watching his online stream is in the thousands, which tells me one thing, that people are sick and tired of going to these churches with so much corruption, so much hypocrisy, spirit of religion. Don't feel the Spirit's presence at all. They're tired of hearing a motivational speech that may feel good and works for a little bit, but long term doesn't do jack squat. People are tired of it. And I'll talk more another day about all the issues in the modern day church. Like I said, I can just go on and on, but nevertheless, just make sure, again, I'm not denying, not saying don't go to church. Make sure you're not sitting with a bunch of hypocrites, though. I love yous, and yous have a most blessed night.